Our next speaker is a senior member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. She is well known for her position of advocating for strong U.S. national security. Please welcome Senator Joni Ernst.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it is great to see you all here again tonight. Glad to be with you. We do have a little something going on up on the Hill later today, so I'm glad that I can come and at least laugh just a little bit before we get into this serious topic and then hear even more serious information this evening. But I want to thank McAleese for welcoming me back again this year. I was with all of you last year, and it was really a wonderful conference, great time to share some information. As a retired lieutenant colonel, it's always a pleasure to be with former and current military men and women, of course, those that are in our defense industrial base as well, as leaders and as innovators. Now, in the Army, and I know that probably some of you that are in the lesser service branches, it's a joke. It's a joke. Okay, in the Army, we use the term bluff, and that's the bottom line up front, and when we want to get right on to the point. And so, folks, I'm going to give you the bluff. The world is, of course, an increasingly dangerous place. So you flip on the news. I don't care what channel you are watching. It doesn't matter where you are on the political spectrum. You can take a look at any news channel and you will instantly hear about another threat to the U.S. forces and our allies and our partners. If you take a look at the Indo-Pacific, okay? In the Indo-Pacific, China continues to step up its coercion against our longtime partner, Taiwan, zipping warplanes and warships across the median line. In Eastern Europe, Putin's Russia continues its rampage through Ukraine, all the while threatening the United States and our other partners in the West with nuclear annihilation. And the Middle East, folks, that region is on fire, okay? It is more destabilized today than it has been in 2 decades. How many of you are global war on terrorism warriors, veterans, etc.? God bless you all. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the 2 decades where we were at war, folks, man, things are ramping up so hard in that region. Iran-backed Hamas continues to wage war against our ally Israel. Meanwhile, Iranian proxies have pummeled U.S. forces with missiles and drones more than 170 times since October 7th of last year. And the Houthis continue to menace commercial shipping. So one of those drone attacks struck Tower 22 in Jordan. Okay, it killed 3 service members from the 718th Engineer Company. Folks, that is my old engineer company from Georgia. Good old U.S. Army Reserves. I served as a platoon leader with that company. These are dudes and dudettes who are there maintaining roads, doing civil works at Tower 22. They were killed by a Houthi drone attack. So faced with all these threats and low recruitment numbers, the U.S. military is stretched dangerously thin. And we know how hard it is to bring young members into our service branches now. I've had conversations about this the last several days. But we must implement reforms and policy changes today to ensure that we can deter our emboldened adversaries worldwide. I don't care what region, we need to make sure they are not stepping up and threatening us. So last year at this forum, I talked at length about the need to revitalize the defense industrial base. And I'm proud to say that through my efforts in last year's NDAA, we are empowering small businesses. I sit as the ranking member on small business as well. So empowering those small businesses and our startups to better compete for defense contracts. We also established the Office of Strategic Capital, boosting the DoD's ability to drive investments into businesses that are vital to our national security. But folks, you know full well our fight is not over. To win tomorrow's competition, simply revitalizing the defense industrial base isn't enough. As the ranking member of SASC's Subcommittee on Emerging Threats and Capabilities, I am acutely aware that the DoD must rapidly deliver a wide range of emerging technologies to our warfighters. These new capabilities are essential if the Pentagon intends to do more with less. We're in a crunch, folks. An obvious necessity as our armed forces face off against a diverse array of formidable threats around the world. These emerging technologies, especially in AI, are crucial force multipliers already changing the battlefield. So, for example, take Task Force 59, the Navy's first unmanned and AI task force. That is the example that I'll use. Task Force 59 is building expendable autonomous drones that are drastically increasing our maritime domain awareness in places where we can't deploy enough manned ships to patrol the seas. CENTCOM is reportedly considering utilizing the task force's drones to protect our shipping lanes from who? The Iranian-backed Houthis. And that's not all. Last month, CENTCOM launched strikes against 7 targets linked to Iranian proxies in Iraq and Syria. Those targets were identified with what? With the help of AI software. AI and autonomous systems are crucial to our overall modernization strategy. Thankfully, our COCOMs are already working closely with the Defense Innovation Unit and the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office to rapidly implement the capabilities. In Indo-PACOM, Chinese war games are growing ever larger and more realistic. Admiral Paparo wants to deploy AI to distinguish these elaborate war games from actual, real Chinese preemptive strikes. EUCOM and Indo-PACOM also now have AI battle labs, speeding up the acquisition of AI capabilities. In this year's NDAA, I hope to pursue legislation to deepen our military's adoption of AI in close partnership with the private sector. It's on Congress to ensure that the DoD can deploy these capabilities across the world to ensure America's continued military superiority. But we know that we can't focus solely on AI and autonomous technologies. Ultimately, these capabilities will have human overseers. That is a must. That is why we need to continue investing in our most critical component of our military, and that is our service members. Traumatic brain injury is impacting too many of our men and women in uniform with distinguished records of service. These silent wounds sustained in the line of duty exact a heavy toll on the physical and mental well-being of those who bravely defend our nation. As a combat veteran myself, I am compelled to find answers that are long overdue. I have made it a paramount priority in this year's NDAA to prioritize the research, the resources, and support necessary to find effective solutions for preventing and treating TBI. Our service members deserve nothing less than our unwavering commitment to their health and resilience as they safeguard the freedoms that all of us hold dear. So let us strive for a future where the impacts of TBI are minimized, ensuring the well-being of those who selflessly protect our great nation to their utmost ability. And with that, I want to again extend a heartfelt thanks for the invitation to speak with you today. And I think we're going to take a couple questions.
Until you speed off into the distance,
I know.
ma'am, to the State of the Union.
And my running shoes on.
This is your floor.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Outstanding.
Senator, question here on the left.
Right here, thank
here.
you.
Much of what you talk about is leveraging commercial innovation to help the warfighter. Do you feel that this is a question of will within the Department of Defense or a question of process? And if it's the latter, do we need to reform PPBE? Do we need more tools like OTA?
I think it's both, to be honest. We have private sector that's working diligently on finding solutions for our warfighter. And then when you look at DOD, and I actually think we talked about this last year, maybe too, is that we have given DOD lots of authorities when it comes to procurement and acquisitions. But what we have found when I go back and ask those at DOD, why are you not? I ask them first, do you have the authorities you need? And they say, yes, we have the authorities we need. But then why aren't they using them? And I think the trap is that so many people that have grown up through the DOD and the old way of doing business at the DOD are set in the old way of doing things at the DOD. They're afraid to assume risk and use the new authorities that have been provided by Congress. So we have to break that mold and get used to stepping a little bit out of our comfort zone and finding a way to acquire what we need, whether it's off the shelf, whether it's a program that we are developing, but we need to be able to acquire that much faster than we do. But we've, again, got to assume a little bit of risk and get out of the old way of doing things. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Senator, it's A.J. Jarnigan, CEO and founder of Expansia, service-disabled veteran-owned small business, of which I just want to say thank you for all of the work that you and your team have been doing on behalf of all veterans and military spouses. We appreciate it, we see it, and to include the increase on the percentage for SDVOSB set-asides. Thank you for all the work that you've done.
You're very welcome.
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you. She is truly a patriot who's been doing a lot of good work here on the Hill. Somewhat related to this last point, one of the challenges, as you know, for small businesses is access, right? And the investment required for access and some of the IRAD that some of the larger corporations are able to do. We too must do it at a smaller scale.
Right.
What recommendations do you have for small businesses who are scaling to get access to avenues where they can continue to have the right voice, to get access to the right people and we'll say audiences to be able to show the innovations that are being adopted?
Right, and thank you. So we do have a number of programs through the Small Business Administration, and the current chair of the Small Business Committee in the United States Senate is Senator Jean Shaheen. She also sits on the Armed Services Committee with me. So we have a great... Yes, thank you. So she is working very, very well with me on these programs and finding ways where we can give greater access to small businesses, especially when they are competing for governmental contracts. We have those programs available, but I've taken it one step further, and what I'm hoping is that other senators, members of Congress will do this in their home communities as well. Last year, what I did in Iowa for my constituency with small businesses, I did an entrepreneurial expo at Iowa State University. We had over 400 businesses that came in, they registered, and we had over 40 agencies, both federal government and state government, that came out. They did the booths, you know, think of AUSA or something. So they're setting up their booths, and they are visiting with all these entrepreneurs as they come in and talking about the different programs and avenues for them to engage. Okay, so we set up a couple different routes, DOD contracts, federal government contracts, as well as entrepreneurial tracks. And they could visit with the SBA about the programs that were appropriate for them to get them off the ground. Because what we have found, especially across the Midwest, a lot of our small businesses have simply given up. The SBA programs can be very complicated, so we need to streamline a number of those. We have to make sure that access to capital is available and the right size for what is necessary for these government contracts. We've already set the date for our second expo in Iowa at Iowa State this year. We had overwhelming success last year. We want to see more of that, but we need to engage through those SBA, whether it's a loan program, grant program, but finding ways to connect those entrepreneurs and small businesses with the capital, with the programs as necessary. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Senator Ernst, it's a two-part question, but the impact is the same. The first is the defense budget. and when's it going to get passed? Two of your colleagues from the Hill have come in and said it's imminent any moment. So if you can give some insight on that. The second one that continues to come up is the supplemental. Yeah. Supplemental basically went in, last year in October, and we're still waiting on it. So,
right, and yes, it is imminent. So what I have heard from the Senate side is that, of course, we'll rush back up. We have the State of the Union, so everything pauses for the State of the Union. So after the State of the Union, those of us in the Senate will go back and resume work on the floor. So we will likely take up, it could be 8, 9, 10 votes through the night, as we often do in the Senate. And we will get that baby knocked out probably in the wee hours of tomorrow morning. So I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You may be asleep when it happens, but it is imminent. I hope you're asleep when it happens. I hope you're not watching C-SPAN at 3 a.m. The tens and tens of people that watch C-SPAN. But yeah, it's really exciting. But okay, so we anticipate that will get over the finish line, okay? Your other question, the supplemental. I did vote for the supplemental. I believe it's the right thing to do. So there were 22 of us Republicans in the Senate. We helped push that over the finish line. It did go to the House, where it is sitting there in purgatory with an unknown fate. And what I would ask all of you, please, if you do have interest in the supplemental, please reach out to those folks on the House side, encourage them, whether they might be part of a certain caucus or whatever, encourage them to move on that supplemental. Please go to Speaker Johnson and encourage him to move on that supplemental. I have heard, and it's just rumors, so pardon me, I shouldn't be spreading rumors, but I have heard that he has spoken to a member of the Problem Solvers, a Republican in the Problem Solvers in the House, and they did say the Speaker had told him that we will bring the supplemental up after appropriations are done, which means we'll get this package done tomorrow morning, and then we have another package yet to go, a semi-bus. Can't call it a minibus, a semi-bus. Once we get that done, then we need that supplemental to come up. Now, whether whatever form it's in, whether it is just Israel, Taiwan, Ukraine, or whether you tack on border, whatever, come on, okay? So please encourage them. But what I would also ask is help us tell that story back home, why it's important. Okay, a lot of Americans don't really understand why it's important that we leverage our friends and allies to protect against our adversaries out there, rather than actions that might trigger us getting involved, whether it's with our NATO partners or allies, other partners or allies, or having something happen here at the homeland. So I appreciate you so much, and thank you for the time today. And I'm going to run back up the hill and see what we can get going on before we have to go to the State of the Union. So really appreciate the time and attention this afternoon. God bless you for all you're doing to outfit our war fighters and to provide real solid solutions to the problems at hand. God bless you all. Thank you.